Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of social problems for this winter, very cold winter semester. My phone says it's currently 7 degrees outside, so I hope you're all staying warm out there. So this week's this week's topic we're covering is on physical and mental health and healthcare, and then alcohol and other drugs. These are two separate chapters, two separate topics. Actually, like kind of three different topics, four different topics if you want to think about it that way. And they kind of make sense to put together. This is an 8-week class, so you have to make those decisions. How do we cover all this material in this short period of time? So these topics I felt make sense to all put together. Physical and mental health are put together by the textbook, and then alcohol and other drugs are put together by the textbook, and the social problems that kind of arise out of all of these. And I think you could probably just intuitively see how these things are related. Oh, very briefly before diving into this week's chapter, I do see that just about everybody got through the not quiz questions. It's great. I only had one person reached out to me to let me know that my link was wrong for last week's check-in video, so I do appreciate that. If you ever see anything like weird with the links or anything like that, please reach out to me. I can get things corrected very quickly, and it's very helpful to me. But yeah, otherwise, seems like you're all just kind of chugging through the class. So yeah, let me know. Use this messenger here on Canvas. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Please, like email is just like a bottomless pit, and it's just I will always notice when I get Canvas messages. But sometimes emails are just easy to overlook or whatever. Anyway, I feel like you're all adults. You all probably have opinions about these topics. I really want you to think about this as you're going into these, kind of like what I was saying in the syllabus review, and I think last week's check-in video about kind of go into these topics with a sense of curiosity about the research and about the ways that policy gets created. And I'm not even talking about like from any kind of perspective, like anybody that's creating policy or doing advocacy around this work, they're going to end up, or around these topics, are going to end up one way or another back at research. And how do we do unbiased scientific research around things like physical and mental health, alcohol, other drugs, and how do we like create programs and legislation that can have a dramatic impact on people's real lives and actually affect them in a way that can put them on a path towards better health outcomes, improved mental health, management of mental health issues and things like that, and on a path towards recovery of from alcohol dependency or other drugs, or just even like I don't know, like pushing back on alcohol culture. I actually stopped drinking when my wife got pregnant with our first son, just out of solidarity with her being pregnant. I never thought of myself as like a problem drinker or anything like that. But my wife got pregnant with our first son, whose name is Axel, who's now 3. So she got pregnant in like April of 2022, and I stopped drinking just like I said out of solidarity with her because I feel like I've seen this happen before where there was like a drunk guy and a pregnant woman and she has to like take care of him and like clean up his mess and stuff like that. And I just always thought to myself like I do not want to be that guy. Like that is a very sad, very low point. And I don't want to be that guy. And to the guys in this class of people that cannot get pregnant who will support pregnant partners, I would encourage you to do the same thing. If you are in a position where you're going to support a pregnant person, I would highly encourage you to also give up drinking. Just out of solidarity and like for your own well-being too, because I feel like it just creates a better environment to support a pregnancy, whatever. Anyway, the first thing I noticed, apart from feeling great, like I still have not picked back up drinking since then, just because I felt so much better. I mean, it's like I said, I never thought of myself as a problem drinker, but geez, it's like I'm never hungover anymore. I'm like in my 40s now, and like alcohol just really catches up with you. But another thing I really noticed was just the onslaught of alcohol-related advertisements and like just kind of the alcohol culture that exists out there for, especially for parents, and I think in particular for moms. There's like a certain version of it for moms. There's like the whole wine mom thing. And then for dads, there's like the whole thing about like going into your garage and like having a beer and like getting drunk, just like kicking back with the guys and whatever. And it's just it's very like just toxic. I don't know how else to put it. And I feel like it's a little bit corrosive to our human soul. Not to get like too deep here or anything, but it's like I don't know. I feel like in this time that I've not been drinking, which I may go back to drinking. I don't intend on it anytime soon. I've really like not missed it at all. I just drink a lot of water and LaCroix and diet beverages, and you know, it really is like you really notice just how much it's pushed on you every which way you go, and like just alcohol, it's just like everywhere, and it's like integrated into all these different things. And I know for like the younger people in the class, Gen Z and potentially younger kids, I know that alcohol is not as big of a role in your life for millennials like me, or Gen X or even older or whatever. So I think that's like really amazing, and I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it, with like the shutting down of all the bars and everything. And anyway, these are very interesting topics. I think like when you take a step back and you think about this, the kind of struggle that is created for people, like it's hard enough to like hold down a job, support yourself, support a family, pay your bills, pay rent, think about retirement, think about having a dignified life, being able to like keep a roof over your head, being able to go on vacation, just like all the myriad things that you have to do as an adult person, and just trying to like keep it all in check. And then on top of that, thinking about if you have dependency issues with alcohol or other drugs, or if you have any kind of like chronic health problems, or if you have mental health problems that are like always just like a low hum in the background, whether if you're dealing with depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or BPD or any of these millions of things that can kind of arise. It just adds to the difficulty of just being able to just live your life and to have, like I said, just like a dignified life that I think all of us are kind of striving for. Personally, I've always felt like for a very long time, probably since I was like aware of these complex topics, like since I was, like in high school or something like that, I feel like there's an unavoidable reality. Like I remember thinking a long time ago that there's an unavoidable reality that in my lifetime, same-sex marriage is going to be legalized, marijuana is going to be decriminalized one way or another, and we're going to get universal health care. Two of those three things have happened already, and I feel like it's just a kind of unavoidable reality. You just like, I've lived in other parts of the world that had socialized medicine. You look at Canada, I know they have their problems. We have a lot of problems too. Like, I was talking with one of my cousins who lives in Montreal, actually, and he's like kind of conservative. We were talking about healthcare and all these kind of things, and he was like, well, in Canada, it's like if you break your leg, you're gonna have to wait, a week, or like hours and hours and hours waiting to see a doctor or whatever. And I was like, yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing here. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of going to an emergency room experience, but like if you're not like actively dying, you're probably gonna sit there in the emergency room for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours just waiting, So I really feel like when it comes to the delivery side of things, when you look at Canada and the United States, it's kind of splitting hairs, because our healthcare service here is not great when it comes to regular people. I guess if you're like a rich person, if you're wealthy, if you have a lot of resources available to you, you can see the best doctors, you can get see whatever doctor you want anytime you want. For us regular ass folks, you gotta get on your MyChart app, call your doctor, deal with the health insurance, get referrals, do this, do that, and it turns into like a whole full-time job. Like I have good health insurance through my work, like actually really good health insurance through my work. We just had our kid, who is now about to turn 4 months old, our son, and even through my good health insurance, we still had to pay close to around $4,000 out of pocket for a very uncomplicated birth. My wife we were in, it's like, We were out of the hospital within 24 hours after our son was born. She didn't, it was an unmedicated birth. It was very lightly attended by the hospital staff. I mean, they were there, they had very little kind of interventions. We still ended up with a bill of close to $4,000. And like I said, this is like with good health insurance. We have Blue Care Network, and, it's, I know people that had much worse, like, and I'm sure some, if any of you have kids, or if you know people that had kids, I'm sure you have your own stories or other like health insurance things. And, it's just, it really does make you wonder, like, we have to be able, like, we have some very intelligent people in this country, and I feel like we have to be able to come up with a better system. And you look at like what's going on now with the Obamacare subsidies that were ending, and what's going to happen to people's health insurance, what may have happened to some of your all health insurances, like if you were getting health insurance from the private market. What even happened to my health insurance? Like our health insurance at my work, we had to change it pretty dramatically because of the increase in costs and stuff like that. So like I said, I feel like I have a hard time understanding what's the difference between if we all put our money together, and I think of it as like when you're having like a Super Bowl party, or you're having a bunch of friends over and you all put your money together and get a few pizzas, as opposed to like you all getting DoorDash. I feel like that's the system that we're in right now. Like we're in the system where we're all getting together at a party and we're all individually ordering DoorDash, when we could get all together at the party and order like 3 or 4 pizzas, and it'll be way cheaper for everybody if we did it that way, as opposed to like having to individualize this whole thing. That's just my take on it. I struggle to see the benefit that us regular people get out of this system that we have. I definitely see the benefit that the health insurance companies get, and that the hospitals get, and all the sort of middlemen along the way between us and them, the health insurance people and the other people. I definitely see the benefit that they get out of this whole system, but I struggle to see the benefit that us regular folks get, that have to go and just, try to get health insurance, try to get health insurance for our parents, for our grandparents, so on and so forth. So like I said, these are the things I want you to kind of keep in mind as you're going through this week's material. And spoiler alert, I think that this week's question is about socialized medicine and about universal access to healthcare. And because it's just such a elephant in the room at this point. I feel like it's one of the last sort of big hurdles that we have in society to make things equitable. Like that's really what we're talking about. And I felt like the pandemic was a moment that I felt like, okay, this is it. Like it's going to happen now. Like people are going to see how important it is that your neighbor stays healthy and their neighbor stays healthy, and how much of an impact that has on you, because they go to work, they work their jobs, they take care of their kids. Their kids are going to be the future people that drive ambulances. We're all connected to each other one way or another, whether you like it or not. And we kind of have to advocate for these things that keep each other healthy, because we need each other, and we need, that guy working at the grocery store, the guy driving down the street picking up my trash. I mean, everybody plays a very important role in society, and things like access to healthcare, access to mental health services, to being able to have programs and things like that to help with alcohol and addiction problems. These are societal goods that will help us just kind of, continue on with dignity, and to have the sort of things in society I want. So yeah, so I want you to kind of go through this material, think about it, how you think things may be different, and what you like about our current system, what you don't like about our current system. And I really want you to think about like what is possible, and to, again, think about the research on this material. So, okay, I've gone much longer than I typically like to. I'm sorry. Like I said, I think last week, this is my first time teaching this class, so you all are going to have to or first time teaching this class in a while, like since the pandemic, I'll say. So you guys are going to have to put up with my giddiness and excitedness to really go through these topics, because it's so cool to be able to focus on these big topics week by week. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about the class material, or if you see anything squirrely about the Canvas structure or links or anything like that as you're going along. I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.